All right. Welcome back to another episode of Two Fans, 12 Rings. Jeff here. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing okay, man. Just watching some Four Nations hockey, some college basketball's been treating me well. You know, just chilling. How are you?
Yeah, I would say I'm good as well. I've I made this comment to a buddy the other day. We were snap chatting, texting on the USA Canada game, and um I had told him like I've watched more hockey this year. Like this, let's call it the last 365 days even. I've probably watched more hockey the last 365 days than the rest of my life combined. I'm watching more and more of it. Um,
Sure.
I guess we can kind of start with this, and we can just kind of see where it leads us. You put out a Facebook post the other day that was, I think, created by FanDuel or whatever, but it was basically rank your four major sports.
Shout out
NFL.
sports.
What was that?
It was like Woodward Sports. It's like a Detroit area
Oh,
podcast or
yep.
something like that.
And it was like rank your four majors, and it was NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL. And I ranked mine based off just like what I care about most.
Yeah.
And for me, I find the most displeasure when the Patriots lose, and I enjoy the NFL as a product more than I do anything else, even more than college football. Like I love, and I've been pretty vocal about this on the pod. Like I love Michigan more than anything, but the NFL as a whole, I like more than college football. And I don't know if you fall in that same stratosphere.
I would have if you asked me 5 years ago, but maybe there's something to do with the fact that the Steelers aren't as great and Texas has been the last couple of years. But as a whole, I find maybe it's even the people I hang out with. Two of my best friends, J Mag and Smitty, they're massive Michigan and Notre Dame fans and don't have a team in the NFL. So it's like it's the people I talk to, the people at work, college football has significantly increased for me over the past 5-10 years. So I don't know which one I'd rank higher, but gun to my head, I think I would go with college football.
As a product, not as your favorite thing to watch, like as a product. Like you would, I guess
Uh,
here's my example. Would you find yourself enjoying Florida versus Oklahoma more than you would the Tennessee Titans versus the Arizona Cardinals?
I would rather, yes, I would. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Did I give a good comp there? Two random
Yeah, I
teams
mean,
versus
it's
two
just,
random teams.
yeah, it was. It's funny when you were going to the NFL, I thought the Titans are going to be one of them. They just kind of have that about them, They're just like
Yes.
right in the middle. But yes, I think I would, but I don't know if I enjoy one more than the other enough to like, rank them higher or lower, but it's okay. But they're
Yeah.
they're
All in all, though, back to the topic. Like for me, it was NFL, and then I said NBA, which I understand amongst most people that is that is a point of contention. I don't know how else to say it. That frustrates people that I still enjoy the NBA, and we're going to talk about that at some point in this pod. And then I had the MLB, and then I had the
NHL.
NHL, and it's nothing against the NHL as a product. I overall, and I think I've been pretty vocal about this to you and anybody that asks. I like watching hockey, and that USA Canada game, and we'll talk about that. Like that was very fun, but like overall, I don't care when the Red Wings lose, and they're my quote unquote hockey team. I have more an affection to Michigan hockey than I do Red Wing hockey, and it's just like I'm my Tiger fandom since post graduation has just gone through the roof. So it's like it's just hard for me to really wrap my hands around the NHL. And I said this in response to your post, the NBA at its freaking best, I still love it. I still love it. I still think it's great.
Yeah, I think I view hockey and basketball opposite of some people. Like, I like to go and watch a basketball game in person. But it's just like, I don't know, if it's not your team or the athlete you like, I don't know, it just seems like the NBA and the MLB kind of suffer from like the regular season just seems so blah. Like the playoffs, not even the first round. I'd say when you get to the final 8 teams, that's an outstanding month and a half of basketball. When it's like the top 4 in the West, top 4 in the East, and they're playing, the NBA is nice. Same thing with baseball. I was really enjoying the playoff baseball last 2 seasons. But I mean, just like a random day, it's like the NBA should almost start their season earlier so that by the time football's done, they're basically in the playoffs. Like I just feel like it's almost like that to me. Um, so I don't know. It's all different. I mean, when you try and divide your time, if you really like 2 or 3 sports, sometimes you find it hard to care as much about the other ones. So everyone's gonna have their lists, and some people will say like, "There's no way you can't have hockey above baseball and basketball at this point," and it's like, why not? I don't get hockey. I don't really like it. So if you're discussing like the product, I think every team does their best to put their best teams on at the best times. But then when it comes to what do you enjoy, I mean, that's what it was. It wasn't for everyone to bicker and fight. And no, this should be about that. It's just like, hey, look, what's your order? I'm curious on like how people stack up. But like some people on that post wouldn't even put their own four. They just pick apart other people's, and it's like we just want to know. Okay, NFL's one for every now. One person, shout out Dalton Judy if you're listening, but you have MLB as one. Um, you're a Dodgers fan, cool. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, of course, MLB has a chance to be number one. You're a Dodgers fan, but no shade there. I mean, he's always on my feed. I see it all the time. He keeps me involved in baseball. So, but yeah, I find pleasure enjoying watching all sports. But yeah, the list is always fun to see how other people have it stack up.
Yeah. Moving into like hockey, and we talked about the Four Nations thing, and I had prior to last podcast, I had seen it publicized, didn't really know what was going on. I just kind of assumed it was some sort of Olympic style thing. You talked about it on the pod, and I told you right then and there, I said, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I was more than intrigued. I thoroughly enjoyed what I have seen so far in that USA Canada game. I mean, it was great. I had a great time. I loved it.
It sucked that Cal McCarr was out. That really hurt. But yeah, from the neutral, I mean, Connor McDavid comes out, boom, slams a goal home, and obviously the fight's right off the rip. National anthem, you can't boo, come get the mitts. I don't know if you knew about this, but I think Matthew and Brady Tkachuk, their dad played in the NHL. And when he played against Canada, he had a fight like 29 seconds into a game. So his 2 sons both fought in the first 9 seconds of the game. So he was asked about it, and he's like, I don't know, they're a bunch of crazy animals. Like he's like, they're a bunch of like wild people, like they're crazy. But yeah, the fights happen, and then there's a goal. Dylan Larkin has an absolute snipe to put it up 2-1. The empty netters are going to happen. That's just part of hockey. So it'll be interesting that Cal McCarr comes back for Canada, and I don't know if you're familiar with them, but Jack Hughes is a forward for the United States team. He plays for the New Jersey Devils.
Michigan Wolverine.
His younger brother, Quinn Hughes,
Michigan Wolverine,
who was not on the team, Mike Sullivan has called him up. So he will be there for the next game against Canada. They're getting a massive bump on the defense.
I'm seeing that he can't play.
Well, I think he said he called them to travel with the team. And there's another defender for the USA who might not play. If he's injured, I believe he would drop off the roster, and they can refill that spot. I believe that's how it's working. So Hughes is coming. If gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Um, it was the guy who had 2 hits on McDavid and like 2 hits on Crosby. He was like hitting all the star players. He was just like setting the tone. Like your job is to make life hell for them kind of thing. So he picked up an injury, I think, against Sweden. So if he can't go, Quinn Hughes will fill his spot. I think is how it'll work.
So, few things here. Do you remember the World Cup? You had Messi.
I watched.
It was Argentina versus France, and it was Help me out.
Are you talking about in the finals?
Yeah, Messi versus
Ronaldo? No,
no,
Mbappe.
Mbappe. Thank
France.
you.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yes, and
That was
you're
stupid.
right. When I said to you after that, I said, "Wow, I think I enjoy soccer now." Do you remember what you said to me?
I don't.
You're like, "Well, Jeff, that might have been the greatest soccer game I've ever seen."
Oh yeah, it was tremendous. I mean, 3-3 goes into pens.
Yeah. So that hockey game. Now I've been watching more and more hockey lately, but like that hockey game, that might have been the best game I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like from the start of it, just like the fights, obviously who I want to win plays a factor. Um, and Canada immediately goes up 1-0, and then USA storms back, ties it, and then that go-ahead goal from Larkin, the Michigan Wolverine Red Wing. Like, how cool is that? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
It's the trifecta: America, Red Wing, Michigan Wolverine. Like,
Yeah. And
so
John Larkin, yeah, the Red Wings captain. So
yeah, what a cool moment, and obviously they were able to hold off the run there and get the win. It was just like super. I don't know. It was just like I enjoyed that so much, and I cannot wait for Thursday night. And um, I've again I've been trying to consume hockey more. I know a lot of people get on my case about this, um, but yeah, yeah. I'm excited for Thursday. Who's your official pick for Thursday night? You got Canada again. I know you said you thought Canada would win this one.
well, I was rooting for Canada, and it's simply because of Sidney Crosby. Like,
And I get that, but like,
well, when I started watching the game, like when the fights were happening, I was like, fuck, I'm hoping USA, man. Like I was like, I know Jeff, you texted me, you're like, who do you rooting for? And I said, I'm just gonna root for Canada. It's tough. I'm on the fence. Like Sidney Crosby's just pulled me over, and then it's just like, man, you watch that red, white, and blue go out there and play, and it's like, come on, dude. Like you
especially
got,
after they boo our anthem, dude, and they just
yeah, you
go,
keep getting
they
that.
drop the gloves. I mean, first off, it was like glove drop, glove drop, glove drop.
Yeah,
Like it
and
was
then Canada's coach, I mean, what he said over a decade without international play, exhaled in the first 10 seconds or whatever. Like the players were so amped. I think they're like I think in soccer, the Mexico United States rivalry tries to be what the United States Canada hockey rivalry is. Like because USA Mexico, it's like yeah, there's rivalry in soccer, but those teams are like the 11th and 17th best countries in the nation. These are two of the top three, and I only say the top three because they mentioned in 2028 they're bringing back like the World Cup of hockey style thing. And I don't know if any of you hockey people have who pay attention. I mean, if you saw that Russia lineup that was leaked, the amount of players in the NHL that are not here because they're Russian, that that would be an outstanding team. Like that's a really good team, and they would have probably one of the best goalies too. And they have two of the top four goalies in the NHL would both be on Russia's squad. It's Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the names. All their names are so hard to pronounce. I don't
yeah.
follow hockey as close. Shesterkin is one of them, and I think I want to say it's Bobrovsky or Bar.
And he plays in the NHL.
Yeah, they're both in the NHL. Yeah, one plays for I think he plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning, if I'm not mistaken. Shesterkin does, and Vasilevsky, I think, is the other one who plays. I could be wrong too on this, but he plays for God, people would be so mad at me right now who are hockey fans. I didn't do enough of the
You're
research.
good.
There's just
I
so many names and they're all over the place.
You weren't the only person that was kind of like quietly rooting for Canada. I have a buddy that lives in Tampa. He's a Lightning fan. He was like, I think he told me like 2 or 3 Lightning player were on Canada.
Yeah, I think a couple of them in Canada, and then Jake Gensel, who's now a Lightning. He plays for America. He scored a goal in their first game, I believe, against Finland. But Jake Gensel was a Penguin, traded for one season to the Hurricanes, and then signed with the Lightning this offseason.
Gotcha. Anything else on USA Canada?
Nope. Thursday, but if you didn't know, people are listening. They both clinched the top 2 spots. The tournament champion will be crowned Thursday night at 8:00 when they play a second time.
Who do you got?
Canada. I think Canada wins. I'll be rooting for USA, but I do think Canada wins.
One last question, because I don't think I asked you this, and I'm now curious. Why did they do this? What was the Four Nations thing for? Like, what was the?
No idea. I believe the thing
Is
is
there
this,
no All-Star break?
yeah, this is instead of doing the All-Star break, they did the Four Nations face-off. That's why you see all those posts where they're like basketball trying to make it a game, football we'll do flag football, NHL let's kill each other and fist fight for our countries. Like that's they did. This is what it was the Four Nations face off, and February 22nd, Saturday, the NHL returns. It's been gone for about a week and a half because all the players are doing the international competition.
Now I will say this, and I was listening to Nick Wright this morning, and he brought up a great point because a lot of people have been asking, instead of the All-Star game, can we just get a Team USA versus all the foreign players? And Nick Wright brought up a good point. He said, "Well, there's not 12 elite foreign players. There's just not."
Oh,
Like,
for gotcha.
yeah, if you were to make a team, an all-star, quote unquote all-star team of just foreign players, he goes, it would taper off and you wouldn't have 12 really good ones. Basically, there would be people on the team that would be undeserving of a quote unquote all-star position based off of just being foreign players. So because obviously you look at the foreign team, you're like, oh, you're salivating. You get Shea, Luka, Giannis, and Joker. And I'm not even going to go anymore. Those are the top 4 players in the league.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then obviously the other team you're looking at, Curry, LeBron, Durant.
Yeah.
You know what you're looking at. But like essentially what he was trying to say is he's like, there's just, and that sounds fun. But if you're trying to give 12 positions out, it's like, gosh, the 12th guy might be some random European for the Toronto Raptors. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah. Also, the what do you call it? The commissioner, thank you, of the
Adam Silver.
NHL. Well, he's I'm going back to hockey. Bettman
Oh,
is the guy.
okay.
He stated that in 2028 and 2022 during the Winter Olympics, the NHL players were not allowed to go play. Like they had to pick people from their country that weren't in the NHL. So like they were sending like their senior A players and stuff like that to compete. In 2026 and 2030, they will be allowed to go play. So it says the Four Nations face-off happened in lieu of the 2025 NHL All-Star Game, so it was a replacement. And Bettman stated that NHL players would play in the 2026 and 2030 Winter Olympics after not being released for the 2018 and 2022. So I don't know if the NHL will go on like a month and a half break while all the players play for their country. And so your hockey fix would be watching Canada, Russia, United States, Sweden, Finland, France, like all those teams play in the Winter Olympics, and then they would come back afterwards. That's what soccer does. So like when you say who's going to make the World Cup competition, well, for 2 years there's like qualifying matches. So all the leagues for like 2 weeks will go on international break, and there'll be 3 games in 2 weeks of international teams playing each other. Then the teams will return to their clubs and you'll continue playing. That's why soccer is almost all year round, because there's breaks for transfer windows and breaks for international play. That's kind of like what NHL is kind of leaning into here, it looks like, with letting players go. Or teams are just going to have to suffer as they lose their 5 best players to international play, which we'll see what they do for that going forward. But it's
It
still
actually happens often in college hockey because
yeah.
what they have a thing called the World Juniors, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't, and college doesn't stop play for it. So if you have an elite kid on your team, essentially you lose that kid for the World Juniors, which is roughly 10 to 14 days.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk All-Star Weekend and some of the things that people had issues with, and we'll just what was at one point. I like to think that the NBA All-Star Weekend was at one point the best All-Star Weekend of them all by a large margin. And I don't even know what to make of it anymore. I didn't watch the skills competition, though I heard it was an absolute joke because people were trying to cheat.
Did you see the clip?
I have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have seen it.
Chris
For those
Paul.
that wonder what we're talking about, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama, rather than doing the skills competition, basically were like trying to cheat it and like throw balls. Long story, but anyways, um, The 3-point contest. Listen, and this is coming from a guy that likes the Pistons and is a huge Cade Cunningham fan. It's full of a bunch of guys that chuck 3-pointers all year, but they're not actually good at shooting threes. You know, there was 2 guys that I thought were worth winning the 3-point contest, and the guy that I didn't think was worth it won it. So I call it what you want, but Buddy Hield and I thought Damian Lillard were the 2 that were most worthy. Buddy Hield put up a great first round and then kind of shit the bed, but Tyler Hero put up an average first round, barely squeaked in the finals, and then had a good second round. So it was just like, it is what it is, I guess. The dunk contest.
Mac McClung's a pound, though.
And here's the thing. So at this point, we need to do one of like 3 things. We need to A, just let Mac McClung dunk for an hour, and we'll all just love it. 2, make it a one-on-one competition. Or 3, we got to start screening these guys. We cannot allow an NBA player to come out on the court with live TV time and look so unprepared. Did you watch any of the dunk contest?
I saw every Matt McClung dunk on a 3-minute highlight video on Facebook. That's what I saw the dunk contest.
So you can't even comment on this.
I didn't watch any. Every time I turned on any of the All-Star stuff, I was honestly annoying. It was less than 3 minutes. It was off my TV. I didn't watch any of it.
I had
I've seen enough. I know Tyler Hero won it. I watched a lot of the actual All-Star game on Sunday. I saw the Chris Paul Wanyama stuff. I saw the McClung dunks. I saw a couple. His name's Stephen Castle from the Spurs. Saw a couple of his, but like, no, I didn't really watch much.
The fact that Castle's dunks got second place and like that was even considered somewhat decent. That dude, they were giving him 48s and 49s because of how bad the other 2 were.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, we just got to, I'm sorry, like, there's no way as TNT or the NBA are proud of what they put out there that night. It was very bad. Had Mac McClung came out there and looked half as, if a 4th dunker would have looked like that, they would have had to like cut the commercial or something.
I just think I kind of agree with a little bit of Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd and the fact that like the NBA, I believe, is closing in on potentially having to make radical changes to the sport. It seems like there's a lot of players, whether it's in the All-Star game or throughout the regular season, make so much money from their contracts, from endorsements, from shoe deals, that like it's almost like they think it's funny to go out there and just not care during the dunk contest because it's just like, we'll laugh, we'll go out there and do a bunch of dumb shit for 20 minutes. We didn't even want to be in this thing anyway. And then it's like you look at what Matt McClung is doing, and it's like it's almost like disrespectful to him to not even like there's no competition. It's like we're gonna look back and be like, no one even dunked against him. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just got like 3 free titles because he was actually trying. It's like that's all it took. And I don't know, it just seems like even though like you're kind of defending NBA as a whole, you know, at its best it's good and I still enjoy it and stuff like that. It just seems like the bulk narrative of it is that it's slowly going down and down. And then it's like, is there enough star power or want to or athletic prowess that like when LeBron, KD, Kevin Durant, when they start to move out, is there going to be like enough to take like is there enough for the NBA? I don't know, because like I really liked the NBA last few years. Like I had the league pass, but it was pretty much I realized it's just for Luka. Luka got hurt for 1 month. I didn't have the league pass and didn't miss any basketball. I just missed watching Luka specifically. I don't know. It's always interesting, but the All-Star break as a whole is kind of a joke. I don't know how to fix it. I don't have answers for that. But I'm just saying, like, the NBA game, Nick Wright was correct. He's like, it's still an entertainment product, and it's at its best when athletes are in and around the rim or competing at mid-range. Like, I like the idea of when you arc the three-point line, it goes directly to the corner of the court, which takes away basically the corner 3. If you move it back, shooters are just going to get better from further, but maybe add a 4-point line so the 3-point line doesn't seem as good. So I don't know if you should do that, but
I gotta be honest. I've heard the four
I
point
don't
line.
know. Like I'm not.
I don't love that. I think that makes the sport almost worse. The
Do you,
only thing they could do, and I've heard this, and it would just essentially would screw their record books, but you just have to accept it. You have to make the 2-point shot now 3 points, and the 3-point shot 4 points.
that way, there's not as big of a percentage jump for
It's
having.
a percentage thing. Yeah, if I told you that you get to shoot 40% from 3 and 50% from 2, you're going to catch me shooting 40% from 3. You're going to have more points than me.
No, I like that. I think that is a good move. The only problem is people have such a hard time because stats are such a big draw. It's such a big
Correct.
argument, and there would just be an asterisk. Someone would have to go back through everybody and be like, this is how many points they would have had if it was 2s and 3s.
Correct.
And put like a now again, someone can get paid to do that at ESPN. I'm sure they'd gladly do that for 40 hours a week, just converting how many 2s and 3s they had to see what their points would have been. So I don't know. But in the playoffs, it's a lot of fun, but it's tough on a Wednesday to be like, yo, if Luka's not playing, I guess it's going to be hockey on the TV tonight. Because, like, again, when you did the college football example to NFL, it's like I'd rather watch the Calgary Flames versus the Chicago Blackhawks over, the Grizzlies versus the Pelicans. And that's Ja Morant and Zion. But you don't know if they're playing. And then let's go to another thing. Betting is growing, obviously, at a rapid pace. It's massive already. I could bet Ja Morant to have 20 points at 3 p.m. Game starts at 7. His shoulder's sore. He's just not going. Okay, it's void your parlays. It messes with your betting. It's like you can't even count on the NBA to be there for that. It's like it's so unpredictable. And then, it's weird. Especially when in football, you're going to compare it to other sports, football and hockey. They're going out there with, shoot me up with something. I'll take this, wrap it up, and we got to go play because there's urgency. So I don't know. It's just a different game. I try and enjoy them all at different paces. I just can't enjoy a lot of NBA as much as I would like to.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, skills contest was trash. The 3-point contest just feels like they'll let anybody in there. The dunk contest has taken a huge step back, and it's really sad. As far as the All-Star game goes, and I did think the structure was somewhat fun. Everybody likes to say they don't play any defense. They've never played defense in the All-Star game. And if you want to argue, if you want, no, feel free to argue this. I will argue this till the day I die. Go look up the scores when Jordan was playing too. They were dropping 150 on each other. Like there was no defense.
Yeah,
so the idea that there was is laughable.
I think a lot of NBA, like seriously, a lot of it is like they call them old heads, but people who are like 40, 45 and up talk about old basketball as if it was just the greatest thing ever. It hasn't really changed that much. Like it's just gotten more political because everybody has a camera in front of their screen now. But it used to be like, man, the baggy shorts, they would just basically come off the streets into the court and just hoop, man. They were hoopers back in the day. And it's like, you just didn't know who they were. They didn't have a mic in front of their face, so they seemed like I'm sure you would have liked or didn't like a lot of guys in the NBA that you thought were cool if they would have had a mic in their hand every day or had a social media and you knew if they were Democrat or Republic or how they felt about issues. Like that's why like NBA players, it's like it's the only sport where the player is the brand more than like the actual brand of the league. So it's always going to take on interesting dynamic. So and the NBA is definitely its own bear. Like it's something so different than all the other sports.
I respect the olden days basketball, and I respect those players. Like, even though I don't think Larry Bird would beat Kevin Durant one-on-one, I still respect that Larry Bird has more accomplishments than Kevin Durant and is probably a better player. Like, I do respect olden day basketball. I'm not saying Michael Jordan's not better than LeBron James because he played in the 90s. That's not the reason. But I will say this, like anybody that acts like these 80s and 90s basketball games are just like again the gold standard. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but like I'm going to use the bad boys so I don't come off bias here. the early 90s Bad Boys teams, right?
Pistons, for those of you who don't know.
Let's use this team. The Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, who came up short in the finals a couple years ago. They might beat them. The game's evolved so much. Players are so much more athletic. They're shooting the three, like the way the game is played now. They might beat them. Like it's a totally different game, and it's just like the athletes are at just an astronomical increase at this point. Like the athlete they were then, it is just like, come on here. So, but let's talk a little bit about LeBron here. Taking a lot of criticism about basically sitting out the All-Star game. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna let you start. I'm very curious if where we're at on this, if we agree. I would say the only thing we really disagree on, for the most part, is like how we view a team. Traditionally speaking, we usually agree on a lot of like takes. So I'm wondering where you're at.
I don't care at all that LeBron sits out an All-Star game because he wants to rest an ankle because the Lakers going forward have a shot, whatever. I did have a problem with the fact that he waited till they couldn't replace him. Like he didn't let someone else get an All-Star spot because he kind of waited till like the same day of the All-Star game, it seemed like. But like I don't care if any of them or all of them sit out. That doesn't matter to me. Like they earned the right to be an all-star, so they can do whatever they want with that. So he's also 40 years old, still gracing us in the league by being one of the best players. So he's earned it if he wants to sit out with an ankle.
Would you agree that LeBron tends to be a clout chaser? Somebody that's looking for attaboys and stats and awards, and do you agree with that or not?
I think I don't know. I guess I don't really have enough opinion, but I know he's always got something to say really about everything. So I guess sure you could say yeah.
I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there's people in life that are this, but I think LeBron cares about his stats.
He's been the face of the league since he was 17. Like
yeah. So LeBron James has now played 20 All-Star games in a row. In a row. I think he wanted to make it 21 in a row. I really do. I don't think he could go. I think he really. Here's the thing, dude. If Luka isn't a Laker, he might play on Sunday. I think he's really assessing, like, do I have a chance to win a title?
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's why I said out. The Lakers have a chance here, and they've got to do a lot of stuff at practice with new pieces.
It's just crazy to me that people literally have made this like a LeBron James is, and this is the name that people are saying would have replaced him. Do you know what the name is?
No.
Norman Powell.
Clippers?
It doesn't matter, Brad.
I don't even know who he plays.
It doesn't matter. That's what. Like, stop it, guys. Come on. If LeBron James freaking, if he would have told us at tip-off and knew all week, I wouldn't have cared. Like, this is LeBron James we're talking about. Do you know why I'm mad he didn't play? Because I don't get too much more of watching LeBron. Okay? Second point I have here. LeBron just played the Olympics with Steph and Durant. You don't think he wanted to do that again? Looking at those other three teams, thinking they even had a shot? LeBron loves that kind of stuff. You don't think it's a coincidence that when they were doing the pick All-Star games, he went undefeated picking his team? Not a coincidence, Brad. He cares about that stuff. He would have loved that him, Curry, and Durant wiped the floor with the other three teams. I'm telling you right now, I think he got to the day of the game and said, I can't play.
Yeah, no, and again, you know, I didn't think about the repercussions either. You had 3 full teams of all-star players. Some have already been refills and stuff like that. You're probably looking at what, the 44th best player in the NBA, allegedly that season being in over LeBron. He's going to be on the sideline, and like you said,
was Norman Powell.
Yeah, you make a lot of sense. You make a lot of sense with all that, and yeah, he would have won. But again, when Luka came to the Lakers, when they announced he was supposed to make his debut Saturday, but they pushed it to Monday, LeBron took off that Saturday with ankle soreness.
Yeah.
He's dealing with this ankle. It's not like it just came out of nowhere and he's just like, my ankle hurts. So
no, he's been dealing with this
2 years now, pretty much.
Yeah, it's been like the only injury he's had in his career that just won't leave him. And let's be fair, he's 40 years old.
Yeah.
He's 40 years old. Like it's just like the criticism. And I don't know if you've heard the criticism that he didn't wear the outfit. Have you heard that criticism yet?
No, listen. I seriously think, really seriously think, I'm going to ballpark it at 85% of the people who criticize LeBron any chance they can, anytime it comes up in talking, I bet in the last 10 years, they haven't watched 50 games of basketball of any team, any player. They just watched back in the day or kept tracks on it. They found out in 2007 they don't like LeBron James. So any chance they get, they just, every time he's in, just, that guy's so stupid. Yeah, he didn't do this. Can't believe that. I didn't do that. Like, I seriously think 85% of the people that criticize him don't even watch basketball. They just don't like LeBron James and his opinions and how he carries himself and just that kind of thing. It has nothing to do with him as a basketball player. They don't like him.
I posted numerous photos on the Facebook page, 2 Fans 12 Rings. Go check it out. Of infinite amount of athletes that don't wear the uniform when they're hurt. Yao Ming, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade.
If you're hurt in a regular season, a playoff game, you come in dressed out. Like, that's just something NBA players do. It's almost like a fashion league as well as it is. Like, you put on your chain, you put on that backwards hat, maybe a coat over a coat, 3 collars. You got something hanging out of a pocket, weird shoes. Like, that's just that's how NBA players are. It's like you got to show off some fashion on the sideline.
It annoys me, Brad. It annoys me.
It's so common.
I shouldn't let it annoy me, but just like the constant just berating of LeBron James, it just gets so old. And like, it's just so hypocritical. It's so hypocritical, and people just talk out of their you-know-what because they truly don't even have the facts. Oh, LeBron James literally can't even wear the uniform. Bro, half of you guys are Kobe supporters. I got a photo on there of Kobe not wearing the uniform. Like, it's so stupid.
I didn't go to – I had work today, and I didn't go. I didn't wear my Menards vest around the house today. I was supposed to be at work today. I'm off.
On you.
I got an ankle injury.
Shame on you.
Should I be podcasting in the Menards gear to show my rep? Like, come on.
Did you call your replacement last week and let them know that they're going to be in? When did you first know that you weren't going to go into work? And did you like...
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Oh, goodness. Let's hit the mailbag and then we'll go.
I'm off till next Tuesday. I feel pretty good about that. All right.
You're probably faking this injury.
Yeah, man. Jeez Louise. I got a Chipotle burrito down here on my right foot. Jeez Louise.
Chipotle burrito.
All right. Mailbag. Dave Hazelton with the first 4.
Oh boy.
There's only 6 here, so.
Okay.
Dave came in with some questions. How will the Jets, Browns, Steelers, and Titans solve their quarterback situations? I'll go first. Draft, free agency, or re-sign. Those are the only 3 options. The Titans and Browns have the first 2 picks in the draft. That could be a Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders situation. The Steelers likely have their quarterback. They're going to re-sign either Fields or Wilson. And when it comes to the Jets, it's either a free agency move or maybe they go with a veteran, Tyrod Taylor, or maybe, was it Jordan Travis, who they drafted out of Florida State? Maybe they see what he's got. But I think the Jets are focused with their new head coach on building a roster, then acquiring the quarterback. But that's what I think. Jets, Browns, or the Titans, Browns have the 1 and 2 pick in the draft. So they have the best chance to do it through the draft.
Jets, They are almost definitely a bridge quarterback. Very like what Sam Darnold was just recently. Watch out for Sam Darnold to go there, by the way.
Back to the Jets? I don't
I don't
think
think
so.
it's crazy.
I do. I don't think he would sign it. Doesn't matter if they would have him. I don't think he wants anything to do with New York. I don't think he's a Giant or a Jet. I don't think he wants to go back to New York. I think he hated his life there.
You're probably right. You're probably right. I'm just saying they do seem like they're probably going in a different organization. Regardless, they're probably a bridge quarterback. Browns, I've told everybody this, non-Browns fans and Browns fans. Deshaun Watson is your quarterback next year, and if he isn't playing because he's hurt, it's whoever else is the backup. They're not changing their quarterback situation next year. This is a 2026 conversation. I would honestly be shocked if the Browns drafted a quarterback in the first round. They could draft somebody in the second or third, but if they drafted somebody in the first round, I think that's a boneheaded move. Are we on the Titans now?
Steelers.
Steelers. I'm right there with you. I think the Steelers are probably a Justin Fields or a Russell Wilson. They're not a drafting a quarterback. Probably an outside chance to land Aaron Rodgers. But that feels honestly very pipe dreamish to me. I just don't think the timelines add up. I don't think the Steelers want a bridge quarterback, and I don't think they view Russ or Fields as a bridge quarterback. I think they like, oh, this guy's in the building. We're ready to sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal, whatever money that looks like. And then who's the Titans?
Yep.
They feel they are either Cam Ward
Or Will Levis run it back.
Will Levis, and that's if they trade out of the number 1 overall pick, they could potentially go bridge or run it back with Will. That's pretty much it.
All right. Next question. Will the Bengals retain both receivers, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase? I think absolutely 100% Jamar Chase. And I think T. Higgins will be on a different roster.
As of today, they are both Bengals.
Did they sign him to a franchise tag?
T. Higgins has been franchise tagged.
Oh, wow.
Or is going to be. They have announced they opened today. I don't know if they've officially done it. And Jamar Chase is actually under contract this year. So as of today, they're Bengals.
Yeah.
Now, will T. Higgins play on a franchise tag? Probably not. Will Jamar Chase play on the 1 year, $10 million he's going to get? No. They'd have to make those decisions. Jamar Chase is going to see the highest dollar amount in the history of the league for a wide receiver. He's probably looking at a 4-year 160, close to, with probably 110 guaranteed, if I had to guess. And then T. Higgins is looking, honestly, at like a 4-year 120. I think T. Higgins is going to get $30 million a year, and he could easily get that in New England. I think there's other teams that will probably have to pay him that too if they want him. And the Bengals are going to have to decide whether they want to play out another tag or if they want to trade him because they don't have the money to sign him.
Yeah. Will Travis Kelce retire? I think he should, but I don't think he's going to. I think he's going to keep playing.
So he probably plays one more year in a very different role than we've ever seen him. And even this past year was a different role, but it'll be even more diminished than that. Probably on the team so that his last game is not an absolute beatdown in the Super Bowl. Like, that's probably a bad taste in his mouth. But I will say this, like, if you watch this film, it's not good. It's not good. It's not a player that you're signing up for to return and excited for. So he's got to understand if he's coming back, it's to play meaningful football and to be a contributor to the team and not just there because you're Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Like, before you were Taylor Swift's boyfriend, you were an all-pro tight end, the discussion for the greatest tight end of all time, and you still are. But, like, bad look in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Where do you think Myles Garrett lands?
So rather than picking a billion spots that he fits, I'm going to give the best possible landing spot for him, a team that can pay him, team that needs him, and a team that's trying to win, Washington. You?
Washington was one of my two. I think Washington's great for all the reasons you mentioned.
Yep.
Secondly, it would be in conference for all the same reasons, the Buffalo Bills. The Chiefs are the only team that seem to beat them, and the Chiefs don't put up 30 unless they play the Bills, is what it seems like. And the Bills have a first round pick and 2 second-round picks in this year's draft. Even if they have to give up more than that, they can basically say our first 2 rounds this year, we don't have picks now, but we've drafted Myles Garrett. And if it takes more, they can deal with that. But to add Myles Garrett, a versatile defensive lineman who can pressure Mahomes and be a real difference maker throughout the season, I think it could be the final piece that gets the Bills over the Chiefs. This is from Jeff Johnson. Shout out him. Early World Series predictions.
That's actually Jen's question. I copied it from last week's post.
Oh, okay. Jennifer's not tagged underneath it. Okay, it is Jennifer.
Sorry
about that.
So Jen wrote in after we had recorded last week, and I wanted to carry those over. Her and Anthony both. So Jen, early World Series predictions. This is going to sound super boring. It's hard to go anything but Dodgers Yankees right now. I would love for Detroit to make a make a push in the AL. Watch out for the Red Sox. I think they've made some quietly decent moves, but the Dodgers are the heavy favorites in the NL.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to. If you're not trying to get too tricky, you're just going to pick the Dodgers from the National League. Now there's other teams such as the Mets, the Braves. You have the Padres. Like the National League has a lot of good teams, but I look for someone in their division with the Yankees. I think the Baltimore Orioles are an extremely young team. I think they finished within like 5 or 10 losses away from the Yankees last year. They got a lot of young, good bats, a decent pitching staff. I like Baltimore to maybe be a team that can get in there. But yeah, it's Yankees Dodgers is that's a safe bet. But just trying to pick a little outside the box there. Orioles Padres. That's going to be who the World Series Dodgers in 4. So Anthony Pratt asks, which team had the worst outcome on their deal, the Jets Rodgers deal or the Browns with Watson? That's his first of his 2 questions.
So I texted this out because he was also late to last week's pod. But I want to say this on the pod. This is one of the reasons I carried it over. I'm not even going to talk about the Jets right now. I have defended the Browns moves, and I think you somewhat agree with this, and I'm not going to speak for you here. I'll let you confirm or deny after. The Cleveland Browns moved on from Baker Mayfield when he did not have a great season, but he was hurt. Okay. And Baker, let's not pretend he was Tom Brady. Good quarterback, one of the better ones the Browns had, but it did seem like they outgrew him. I was very vocal on that. He was the perfect quarterback for getting him drafted there, but then I did feel like they outgrew him. They acquired an undeniable top 10 QB in the league who had some off the field issues that looked like they were going to get cleared up. Nobody, and I mean nobody, could have predicted the downfall that we have now watched. It doesn't feel right that a undisputed 24, 25-year-old top 10 quarterback can be this horrendously bad after a trade. You could argue about the money. You weren't acquiring him unless you gave him the money. So you tried to acquire a top 10 quarterback. As bad as the contract is, as bad as Deshaun Watson is, as bad as the off the field issues are, nobody could have predicted this. It just, when they traded for him, dude, there were Brown fans that were quickly forgetting what he did off the field because it's like, man, this is a talented guy. This is a good quarterback. The Browns, while they got a horrible return on investment, you couldn't have predicted it. Like, this wasn't what they thought they were getting. They would have kept Baker, obviously. You thought you were getting, and I'm being generous by saying top 10. I think at the time we had him somewhere at 6 to 7 range, if I'm not too far off.
Listen, I don't hate what you're saying. but I do think you're misinterpreting the question. It doesn't say which deal like looked like it could have been better when it was starting. It said outcome of the deal.
No, I
And
know.
Browns haven't. I think the Browns was worse. They have
No,
wait,
it is. It
yeah.
is worse.
Okay. So to answer for both things, Jeff, I agree with what you're saying. No one saw the downfall of Watson and the Browns shattering and Baker having a resurgence and it looking so bad after 3 seasons. However, it does. And so the Browns, you could argue now after asking for a trade, they've wasted Myles Garrett. They've kind of wasted Nick Chubb, although he's had some of his other injuries. The coach who's done well, this roster that was built, a quarterback who won you a playoff game in Heinz Field against Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, getting you over that hump. And it seems like if you wouldn't have acquired Odell Beckham Jr., you wouldn't have had all this Deshaun Watson stuff because it was Odell Beckham, his dad, and Baker Mayfield, that feud that blew up, and it caused so much problems that they said, let's just get the problem out and pay whatever it costs. And it's turned into shit, and that sucks for Browns fans. But Deshaun Watson, it feels like every other quarterback that's played for them over the past 2 to 3 years has been better than Deshaun, even when he's on the field
Yeah.
at times. So I agree with Jeff. With you. There's no way we could have saw this coming. We both said, "Oh, what Browns offseason breakdown, dude? If Watson plays like 80% of himself, this roster's loaded. They're going to be a playoff team."
Yep.
And then he just sucked and sucked and sucked and was ridiculed. Whether that's rightly or wrongly so, that's up to you. It's just that one had a worse outcome. To just touch on the Jets, Rodgers tore his Achilles, and in the next season, he got better towards the half end or the later ends of the season. He was getting better, but with how old he was, the roster couldn't do enough. But they had coaching problems, owner management. Like the Browns seem to have the front office kind of figured out. They just can't figure out the quarterback. So I think the Browns.
Yeah. So obviously Rodgers, they traded for him with the bill of goods they were going to win a Super Bowl, and they never won more than 4 games, 5 games, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's tough.
So obviously that's a bad bill of goods. The Browns, they acquired Deshaun Watson for the largest contract in NFL history of guaranteed money and yada, yada, yada. And they gave a bunch of draft capital, and they got one of the most horrific quarterbacks in NFL history. And then, so they're both bad, and the Browns probably have the worst because of how bad it set them back on the cap. And that brings to the follow-up question. There's a follow-up question.
Yeah, it talks about like the Mavs. Is that the one that you wanted to move
So
into?
yeah, he's basically saying of all that, is it going to be worse than what the Luka trade is, right?
Oh,
Is that what he says?
well, it says, do the Mavs have a potential to top either of those teams as the worst deal if Anthony Davis can't stay healthy? Parenthesis, this is me adding on. Anthony Davis could not stay healthy. He is out for like 3 to 4 weeks. He is out for about a month. It's pretty remarkable that happened, but I'll let you have the floor here.
So I guess the reason the Mavericks trade can't be worse than the other two is because when you acquired Aaron, you thought you were going to the Super Bowl. Now you've had cap issues and you've been horrific for 2 years, but now it's over. It's literally done, right? The Browns thing was so bad. It's been going on for 3 years and it can't even be done for another 2 years. Okay? Like you are in this hell that you're in for another 2 years, no matter what. The Luka thing, I mean, we can see the end of that. What, in a year? 2 years? Like as soon as Anthony Davis is done with his contract, that deal's done. And at some point, Dallas is going to acquire a draft pick for Luka. You're hoping that's a good draft pick, and they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league at some point soon, unless they're able to acquire free agents. And you're going to be getting draft lottery capital. And if let's say you're not, let's just say you're decent, you're contending for playoff spots. Well, then in that case, you're fine with the trade. So either way it goes, right? By getting rid of Luka, you got a draft pick, you have a potential title window, and if you don't fulfill that window, you're going to get your draft picks because you didn't give up anything to get rid of Luka. You acquired. So it just can't be worse. The only way it can be worse, you ready? The only way is if Luka rolls off title after title after
Well,
title after title.
I
That's the
think
only way it can be worse.
I think the way it could be worse is Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Klay Thompson are also all dealing with injuries. Kyrie's dealt with injuries in the past. If this team regresses, which by the way, regressing means not making the NBA finals as of right now. So if they do anything less than that, they regress. If Anthony Davis is hurt and the team gets worse, the impact that they have put on their organization, would free agents want to go there knowing how ownership now works under this new ownership? It's not Mark Cuban anymore. In NBA, where views and likes and follows really help, they've lost millions rapidly. And the Dallas Mavericks become an organization that's not looked at in a good light. And it impacts them. And when you look at how much they could have gotten out of other deals, the future draft capital is a first rounder in 2029, which if it's not a lottery pick, you're kind of in a bad situation. Worse, I mean, we're measuring which pile of shit is stacked higher. I mean, none of these are going to be good if AD's hurt and with what happened to the Jets and the Browns. So it's just not a good deal. But yes, you're also right. If they don't do better, and let's say the Lakers in the second round knock the Mavericks out of the playoffs. Like that's something like it's still at such a small stage. We've seen 3 games from each team basically with after the trade. It's been the All-Star break. Let's let this baby cook till like maybe next Christmas Day and see how these teams have stacked up with each other. We just got to let it play out. I mean, Deshaun's been there for 3 or 4 years. Rodgers did his 2 years. I think it could. Probably not, because that Browns deal was
It's really bad. It's really bad. Yeah.
And those are the 6 or 7 questions we had for the mailbag.
All right. Anything else before we hit the road?
Nope. We've talked about college basketball, and with the tournament coming up, pretty soon look forward to me and Jeff maybe doing like a little breakdown show or doing our combined bracket. And shout out the Michigan Wolverines on a bit of a tear. Took down Purdue and Ohio State. By the way, I mean, I turned $20 into 70 against Ohio State. Michigan was underdogs outright on the money line.
Crazy.
And they received 81% of the bets on FanDuel as outright underdogs to win. Now, great game. It was a close, tremendous game the whole way. But shout out Michigan, man. They've been doing good. Texas beat Kentucky. Michigan beat Purdue and Ohio State. Some good wins for the boys over the weekend.
Yeah, so Michigan, home game on Fox on Friday night, 8 o'clock. They have Michigan State coming to town. It'll be a top 15 matchup for the two teams. Michigan State's actually at Purdue tonight, I think. Or maybe they're home. Regardless, it's Michigan State, Purdue.
Host Purdue tonight.
Yeah, so that'll be a big game. But Michigan State travels to Ann Arbor on Friday. Dan and I are going to be at the game. Very excited for that. That completes our 4-game package. It's been a hell of a ride. This has been a great team to watch, having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, excited for that. And we'll, as of right now, we'll be back next week talking something. So thanks for the mailbag questions. Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, we'll get out of here. Cato says bye for those of you that are watching. First time appearing on the pod.
See you, pup.
Later.
Later.